Most people believe happiness arrives as a reward. We grow up absorbing the idea that if we work hard enough, earn enough, and achieve enough, happiness will eventually show up as a natural consequence. Yet decades of research in psychology and behavioral science reveal a different truth. Happiness does not passively arrive when circumstances improve. It is actively built through repeated behaviors, mental habits, and conscious choices. In this sense, happiness functions much more like physical fitness than financial success. No one becomes strong by wishing for strength or by waiting for the perfect moment. Strength comes from practice, from showing up daily, and from doing the work even when motivation is low. Scientific studies consistently show that people adapt quickly to improved external conditions. This phenomenon, known as hedonic adaptation, explains why promotions, new possessions, and social recognition provide only temporary boosts in mood. The brain is wired to normalize comfort. When happiness is treated as a prize to be won, it becomes fragile and fleeting. But when it is treated as a skill to be practiced, it becomes resilient. Just as musicians develop mastery through repetition, humans develop happiness through intentional routines that align with how the brain actually works. One of the most powerful insights from neuroscience is that our thoughts and behaviors physically shape our brains. Neural pathways strengthen with use, meaning that repeated patterns of gratitude, generosity, and emotional regulation literally rewire our mental landscape. Happiness, therefore, is not about ignoring hardship or forcing positivity. It is about training attention. When people regularly practice noticing what is meaningful rather than what is missing, they build a cognitive habit that buffers them against anxiety and despair. This explains why individuals who cultivate gratitude report higher life satisfaction even in difficult circumstances. Another critical practice is choosing behavior over emotion. Many people wait to feel happy before acting in healthy ways, but science shows the reverse is far more effective. Action changes feeling. Regular exercise, social connection, acts of service, and disciplined routines elevate mood by altering brain chemistry. Dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin respond not to wishful thinking, but to purposeful action. Happiness grows when people behave like the kind of person they want to become, even on days when motivation is absent. Importantly, practicing happiness does not mean eliminating negative emotions. Sadness, boredom, frustration, and even grief serve essential biological purposes. The goal is not constant pleasure, but emotional balance. Research shows that people who accept discomfort rather than resist it recover more quickly and experience deeper well-being over time. Emotional avoidance weakens resilience, while emotional engagement strengthens it. Happiness thrives not in the absence of pain, but in the presence of meaning. Relationships also play a central role in this practice. Long-term studies on human well-being repeatedly identify close relationships as the strongest predictor of happiness. Yet relationships require effort, patience, forgiveness, and vulnerability. They are not rewards, they are responsibilities. Choosing to invest time and energy into others, especially when it is inconvenient, reinforces a sense of belonging and purpose that no individual achievement can replace. Ultimately, happiness grows when it is treated as something we do, not something we get. It emerges from disciplined habits, intentional connection, and a willingness to engage fully with life as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. The science is clear: those who commit to practicing happiness daily, regardless of circumstance, build lives that are not only more joyful, but more meaningful, and emotionally strong. Human beings are remarkably good at chasing what feels good and surprisingly bad at understanding what actually lasts. Pleasure is immediate, seductive, and easy to measure. It shows up as excitement, comfort, and stimulation, lighting up the brain's reward system and giving us a quick sense of satisfaction. Yet science makes a clear distinction between pleasure and happiness, and the difference explains why so many people feel empty even while living comfortable lives. Pleasure is short-lived by design. It spikes quickly and fades just as fast, leaving us craving the next hit. Meaning, by contrast, unfolds slowly and strengthens over time. Research in psychology and neuroscience shows that pleasure primarily activates dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with desire and anticipation. Dopamine motivates us to pursue rewards, but it does not sustain well-being. When life becomes organized around constant pleasure, the brain adapts by demanding more stimulation for the same emotional payoff. This is why material success, entertainment, and indulgence lose their ability to satisfy. Meaning operates through a different system altogether. It is closely linked to purpose, coherence, and contribution, engaging brain networks associated with long-term satisfaction and emotional stability. Meaning is often born in effort, not ease. Activities that feel meaningful frequently involve responsibility, sacrifice, and even discomfort. Raising a family, committing to a mission, serving others, or building something that outlives us rarely feels pleasurable in every moment. Yet these pursuits provide a deep sense of significance that pleasure cannot replicate. Studies consistently show that people who orient their lives around purpose report higher life satisfaction, lower rates of depression, and greater resilience in the face of adversity. One of the clearest sources of meaning is service to others. When individuals use their time, skills, and resources to improve someone else's life, their own sense of fulfillment increases. This is not a philosophical claim, it is a biological one. Acts of generosity activate neural pathways associated with bonding and trust, releasing oxytocin and serotonin, chemicals linked to well-being and social connection. Meaning grows when the focus shifts away from the self and towards something larger. Relationships also illustrate the difference between pleasure and meaning. Casual interactions may be enjoyable, but deep relationships demand patience, forgiveness, and vulnerability. Longitudinal studies show that close, committed relationships are the strongest predictor of long-term happiness, even more than income or status. These relationships are not always pleasurable, but they are profoundly meaningful. They anchor identity, provide emotional security, and offer a sense of belonging that pleasure alone cannot provide. Meaning also reshapes how we experience suffering. Pain without purpose feels unbearable, but pain connected to a meaningful goal becomes tolerable and even transformative. Psychological research on post-traumatic growth shows that people often emerge stronger and more fulfilled when they are able to integrate a hardship into a broader narrative of purpose. Meaning does not eliminate suffering, but it redeems it by placing it within a context that makes life feel coherent and worthwhile. When people build their lives around pleasure, happiness remains fragile, dependent on constant stimulation and favorable circumstances. When they build around meaning, happiness becomes durable. It deepens with time, strengthens through struggle, and remains accessible even when external rewards fade. The science points to a simple but demanding truth. A life organized around meaning will not always feel good in the moment, but it will feel right over the long run. Modern culture teaches us to avoid discomfort at all costs. We are encouraged to eliminate boredom, reduce effort, and engineer our lives for maximum convenience. Yet the science of happiness reveals a paradox that feels counterintuitive. The very things we try hardest to escape are often the ones that build lasting joy. Discomfort, when chosen voluntarily and approached with intention, becomes a powerful training ground for psychological strength and emotional well-being. From a neurological perspective, the brain grows through challenge. Just as muscles strengthen under resistance, neural circuits become more resilient when they are stretched beyond comfort. Research on stress and adaptation shows that moderate, manageable discomfort improves emotional regulation and cognitive flexibility. This process, sometimes called stress inoculation, helps individuals respond more effectively to future adversity. Avoiding all discomfort may feel pleasant in the short term, but it weakens the brain's capacity to cope. Boredom offers a clear example of this principle. When stimulation is removed, the mind initially reacts with restlessness and irritation. Yet studies show that boredom activates the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for creativity, reflection, and self-understanding. In moments of boredom, people are more likely to generate original ideas and gain insight into their values. Constant distraction prevents this deeper processing, leaving individuals mentally busy but emotionally shallow. Voluntary struggle also plays a crucial role in building happiness. Activities that require sustained effort, such as learning a difficult skill, exercising regularly, or committing to a demanding goal, often feel uncomfortable in the moment. However, they create a sense of competence and self-respect that fleeting comfort cannot provide. Psychologists refer to this as eudaimonic well-being, the fulfillment that comes from becoming better rather than simply feeling better. People who regularly engage in challenging activities report greater life satisfaction and lower levels of anxiety. Discomfort also teaches emotional regulation. When individuals learn to tolerate frustration, uncertainty, and delayed gratification, they gain control over their impulses and reactions. This skill is strongly associated with long-term happiness. Studies on self-control show that the ability to endure temporary discomfort predicts better relationships, career success, and mental health outcomes. Comfort, when overindulged, erodes this capacity by training the brain to seek immediate relief. There is also a moral dimension to discomfort. Many of the most meaningful human experiences require sacrifice. Caring for others, standing by values, and contributing to a cause larger than oneself often involve inconvenience and emotional strain. Yet these experiences generate a deep sense of purpose and belonging. The brain responds to this kind of meaningful discomfort by releasing neurochemicals associated with connection and fulfillment, reinforcing behaviors that align with long-term well-being. Importantly, the goal is not to seek suffering for its own sake. Chronic, overwhelming stress is harmful and corrosive. The science points instead to the value of chosen difficulty, challenges that are aligned with values and approached with agency. When discomfort is meaningful and manageable, it strengthens rather than breaks. It transforms fear into confidence and effort into pride. Happiness, then, is not found in the elimination of hardship, but in the capacity to face it. People who learn to embrace boredom, effort, and voluntary struggle build emotional depth and resilience. Over time, they experience a form of joy that is quieter but stronger, less dependent on circumstance, and more rooted in character and purpose.